Following the section 1, we've got Sue Ashton here. So you look at her LinkedIn profile, so pretty much she is independent LinkedIn specialist, career developer, practitioner, founder, trainer, author, writer, speaker, consultant, career advisors, or something like that. And she's a frequent speaker, and we invited to speak on a variety of topics related to her expertise in different organizations. And today she will be sharing with us how to use LinkedIn to create and craft your online profile that will be able to attract more patrons from the online community of the platform. So please join me and welcome Sue.
Thank you, Herman. It's a great pleasure to be here. This is actually my third Monash University presentations on the topic of LinkedIn, so I'm really happy to share that. But given the nature of what this event is about, I thought I'd just share a little bit of a personal story with you first. So my first research project was done as one subject of a Bachelor of Business and Administrative Management that I completed by correspondence with the University of South Australia in 1999. And in a one-semester subject, I surveyed 96 people who moved to Melbourne within the last 5 years, and that ended up in me, and I got the permission of the university to use that as a starting point for launching my first website in 2001, newcomersnetwork.com, and it still runs today, and I've been running monthly events for 13 years, and I also run a Christmas Day picnic lunch, so if you've got nothing better to do on Christmas Day, you're most welcome to join us. But interestingly, my second research project was actually triggered off by an event I went to that was being hosted by the University of Adelaide. And please, no aspersions against the University of Adelaide, but this lecturer got up and got a whole lot of funding to do research into Australian expatriates. And Amanda Vanstone was the Minister for Immigration at the time. And when I went to this event, I had to confront rioters, police on horse, and so on, because there were so many people angry about the policies of the government at the time. And I went in and she sat down and she said, oh, what I know about Australian expatriates is they miss cherry ripes when they move overseas. And I was absolutely furious. I came out of this event almost shaking with steam coming out of my ears because I couldn't believe that on top of that particular comment, the researcher said, after completing his research, what I should do next is more research. And I was just really disappointed by that. So my second research project was completed in 2004, and I surveyed 541 people worldwide. I received funding from the HSBC Bank to present 3 events, one before the survey was released, one during for the mid part, and one at the end. And what was really interesting about that is I wanted my research to produce an outcome. And I produced a newcomers kit that is still available to this day to be downloaded. I attracted 60,000 unique visits per month to my website, and I also had that newcomers kit downloaded by people like the head of HR for the World Bank and the US Consul General in Dakar. And that's only 2 of the people that I know actually received that report. So I'm here to say, that's thanks to the use of technology that I was able to do that way back in 2004. And I actually joined LinkedIn in 2003. So I'm one of the first 80,000 people in the world on LinkedIn. And you'll see as we go through this handout that you've all been emailed, and if anybody would prefer to follow with the paper version, I have some here, so you're welcome to collect those. But what I want to show you today, and I don't want to stop you from getting to lunch on time, so I'm going to make up time and give you this as your work to do after the event. And I will just focus on the main priorities because I'm someone who likes to stick to time, and I also like to make things as extremely relevant as possible for you as academics. So to give me some clues as to where you're at, can I please have a show of hands? How many of you already have a LinkedIn profile? Fantastic. And how many of you have that LinkedIn app on your phone today? Only a few of you, right. So what I'm going to suggest is right now, for the rest of you, please put the LinkedIn app on your phone, because I want all of you to connect with everyone else in the room before the end of this session. So you need to download the LinkedIn app and put it on your phone right now and I'm going to show you how technology will enable you to connect with everyone in the room. Now, this is important for you to do today because when you go out and do presentations in the future, you will be able to give this opportunity to the people you're speaking to connect with you on the spot. And they will then see your information in the future because you will be part of their newsfeed. So it's really important that you get the opportunity to connect with everyone today and see how I do this. Now, the next interesting phase of my career is in 2016, I wrote 3 80,000 word books. I'm currently writing my 4th and 5th. My first one was on LinkedIn, which was very technical. My second one was on attracting the right career or business that I did in story format. And the third one is on how to market your business hyperlocally with a lot of 101 stuff plus a lot of digital stuff. My 4th one is on Gigsters, where life is like a box of projects. And if you think about the academic career, there's lots of projects in an academic career. And my 5th one is something completely different, poems for lovers to read to each other. So hopefully that'll be out by Valentine's Day. Now this is also the benefit of self-publishing. I can say whatever I damn well like, which has been pretty much an emphasis of my career, which is also what you can obviously do on LinkedIn. So for those of you who haven't decided ultimately what you'd like to do for the rest of your life, on page 3 of the notes it says how to choose your next job or career, and I also talk about your primary and secondary keywords. So if your discipline of what you do research is about is on particular topics, you need to be across the words that are related to those topics. If those words are not in your content, no one is going to find you. So you need to think, what words do I want to be found for? Because it's like any database. LinkedIn is just a big database, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't tell, you can't sell. So if you're not talking about the words that your expertise is in, no one is going to be able to find you. If you just say you're a researcher, that means nothing in a Google search. If you Google LinkedIn specialist in Melbourne, in Sydney, in Brisbane, I'm on the first page of Google search results because that information, LinkedIn specialist, is all over my content. I've also got some articles here on the benefits of LinkedIn and the business case for LinkedIn. So if you have to convince somebody else to use LinkedIn, you can show them that article, why you should create a good LinkedIn profile and changes for 2018. And I also believe every individual, including my children, I've already bought their domain names. They're going to have to pay me a lot of money if they ever want them back. I believe all of you should have your own personal website. Now, I realise for some of you that's like, oh my goodness, I've already got profiles on ResearchGate, academia, blah, blah, blah. Why do I have to have a website as well? Well, the beauty of your own website is you can publish whatever you like and you can keep a full record of what you've published. And therefore, people can see the one source of truth. Here's where everything that this person has done is being compiled and the full archive. So I've written 2 other articles that I think will be relevant for you. What to do before you speak to a website designer and how much should you pay for a website and what should be included in the website design proposal. Because another aspect of what I do is I teach at the Centre for Adult Education on how to create a simple WordPress website. I'll let you read some other bits and pieces there. Is there anybody who would like to share one story about how LinkedIn has helped them so far with their academic career? Because it's much better if we hear from you rather than just always from me. Anybody game enough to share with the group? Yes, thank you, brave person.
So I had a conference in London
Yes.
this July, and the person contacted me because from Amazon because they found a lot of interest in their search.
Excellent, perfect.
So that's why I went up with the person. Otherwise, like this person had no social skills. Like,
Yes, perfect. Yeah, that's right.
I would have never spoken to the person.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, great to hear. When I did the presentation to Monash Business School alumni, I asked the group, how many of you have received a job offer through LinkedIn? And nearly everyone in the room put their hand up. I'm here to tell you it's extremely powerful. I'm not paid by LinkedIn and I'm not part of LinkedIn. So I'll clear that up as well. All right, so for those of you who don't know, it started in the living room of co-founder Reid Hoffman in 2002, launched 2003. It's the world's largest professional network, which is particularly relevant for business school, people. Nearly 600 million members, 200 plus countries. There's now over 10 million in Australia. I forgot to update that. 4.5 million active monthly users in Australia. That's increasing every month. We've lost our screen. I'll move to that part. Oh, Sally, can you please put your password in? Its mission is to connect the world's professional. They make money out of loads of different things. You can find out more news, statistics and updates on what they're doing on their blog. 75% of hiring managers will Google you before a job interview, 95% before they give you work, and 85% of jobs are not advertised, and still around 85% of business is done by referral. There's lots of people who tell me they don't want to be on LinkedIn, it's not private, they don't know who to connect to. I've got all answers for that there. But what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to go straight into LinkedIn, and if you'd like to follow along on your laptop, that's perfectly fine. If you try and do this on your phone, it won't work because the phone experience or the tablet experience is different to the laptop experience. So let's start off. So before I work with any of my clients, I actually like to do some statistics. And the first statistic I like to collect, which if you've got the printed notes, you can write it down, because this is a real-time statistic only, is the number of people in your network. So you can see I've got 15,358 people in my network. And of course I know them all intimately, but anyway, that's the number. But it's only real time, so I don't know whether it's going up or down unless I actually write that number down. The next one, if I visit my own personal profile and I look at my dashboard, which is just a little bit further down on the screen, and because I've been active recently, I can see my number of followers. So I've got 15,999 followers. So my number of followers is higher than the number of people in my network, which means, oh, guess what? I'm a thought leader, because there's people who, even though they're not connected to me, want to receive my information. So if you want to be known as an expert in your field, your goal is to increase your number of followers, even if you don't decide to increase your number of connections. You will also see that the number, and by the way, anybody who can beat these numbers, please put your hand up, I'll be very impressed. What I've also done is I've got 1,103 people have viewed me in the last 90 days. Now, if you want your LinkedIn profile to be working for you, you need to have that number over 100. If it's not over 100, your profile is obviously not being found very often. So I really encourage you to do that. And my favourite activity on LinkedIn is to click on that number and do what I call reverse stalk. I think Herman looked at me earlier today, didn't you, Herman? But we'll see who else in the room has been looking at me. There he is. Oh, nobody else yet. Or they've looked at me anonymously, which is perfectly fine. So on the free account, I can see the last 5 people who've looked at me, and that's a really good clue. So if I see any of you looking at me later on, I'll be super excited because I'll be thinking, oh, they thought something I said was useful. So I reverse stalk all the time to see who's actually checking me out. If I had the premium account, I'd be able to see the last 90 days of people looking at my profile. Also on my dashboard, I want to be able to see the number of times I've appeared in search results, and this is for the last 7 days. So I've appeared in 1,300 searches in the last 7 days. So again, my profile is actually working for me. I also have what's classified as an all-star profile, and the only reason I have that is because I've actually filled out the boxes. So all you have to do to get an all-star profile is fill in the boxes. You'll also see, if you go down, that I have a lot of votes for my skills and endorsements. So if some of you are specialists in your area and you vote for other specialists in your area, that can be very, very helpful to you. So my top 3 skills are shown there. You can only see that I've got 99 plus, but it's actually a lot more than that. And then I have a lot of other skills. Now, obviously I've got different skills, but the ones I want to get work for are the ones I've put up the top of my list in the 3. I've also got recommendations on my profile, And as the notes suggest, I recommend that you have at least 6 of each, and I've got 64 that I've received and 55 that I've given. And obviously you can be very strategic. If you start recommending people, then your details appear on their profile. So that can be very strategic for you to give people recommendations. But be warned, they can be used in court, so you don't want to say anything that you're not prepared to say in court. The next thing I'd like to show you is how you can save your profile to PDF. So before I work with an individual client, I go visit their profile and I click on More and I choose Save to PDF so that I have a copy before we make any changes. So obviously, in the unlikely event that LinkedIn goes poof, you don't want to lose all the information that was on your profile, so you can just do that Save to PDF. What you can also do is you can spy on some other academics around the world who have fantastic LinkedIn profiles, save it to PDF, print it out and borrow a few of their great ideas or their really terrific words that they're using on their profile and incorporate some of those words in your profile. The other thing that I encourage you to do is go to your settings and privacy and also request an archive via the privacy menu of everything that you've done on LinkedIn. So if you scroll down here, it says download your data and then you can request an archive. Now that archive will show you the first name, last name, unfortunately no longer the email address, the job title, the current company and the date you connected with all of your connections. So if you want to see, are they mostly academics or, whatever, you can see that in a list that you can export. So that may be very helpful to you as well. Some other things that you can do which will optimise you in Google search results is if you visit your LinkedIn profile and you haven't changed your URL to your own name yet, you need to do that. So you visit your profile and up here on the top right hand side it says edit public profile and URL. So you can see that I've changed mine to just Sue Elson, one word, lowercase. That's the goal. So if you've got a unique name, absolutely put that in. If your name's John Smith, it's probably not available, so you might have to put Dr. John Smith or Dr. John Smith PhD or whatever it is, pre-nominals or post-nominals, or you could have a number, but please nothing to do with your date of birth. I'm an ex-banker, so I definitely don't encourage that. If you don't change your URL, you will not appear in search results for your name. So this is one thing, if you learn nothing else from today, please change your public profile URL. Also on this page, if something terrible happens and there's a whole lot of media publicity and you want to go incognito instantly, what you can do is you can turn your profile visibility to off. Oops, we've just gone large here. In this spot here, your public's profile visibility off. And instantly, no one will be able to see your LinkedIn profile. So if for some reason you need to go incognito, that's what you need to do. Do not delete your profile because after 30 days, you'll never be able to get it back. And you'll lose all of your connections. And also you can decide whether you want your photo visible to the public and all the rest of your content. I'm going to show you a couple more of the most important settings and then I want to just give you some other general bits because I've got 16 minutes to finish by 12:30, so I want to get there and let you have that lunch that they've already teased you with by bringing into the room, which is a bit naughty, but anyway. Okay, so next lot of settings. Whilst you're at Monash, I definitely encourage you to add your Monash email address to your LinkedIn account because lots of people know you via that Monash email address. Even if you no longer are part of Monash in the future, for whatever reason, I want you to keep that email address on your LinkedIn account because people will still find you via that. It won't be your primary email address, but you still want people to find you via that Monash email address. So you can see here I've got 19 email addresses. You can also add your phone number to your LinkedIn profile, but like all social media platforms, they are digital megalomaniacs. So what they're going to try and do is sync your phone contacts with LinkedIn. Now, one of my clients is a lovely woman in her early 30s who's been on lots of first dates. Now, she synced her phone with her LinkedIn account, and all of those first dates were invited to connect with her on LinkedIn. So please, if you do add your phone number, do not be lured into syncing your contacts with the platform, because great Auntie Dora and everybody else you've ever corresponded with will then be invited to connect with you on LinkedIn. Also on this page, you can turn off autoplay videos if you don't want videos to automatically chew through your data allowance. And in the privacy section, if you actually want people to contact you, you can make your email address visible to people on LinkedIn if you say this in this section. And it also has given a new option of allow your connections to download your email address. I'm actually happy for them to do that because I want to be contacted. When you're in consulting, you want to be contacted. Who can see your connections is up to you, whether you decide only you or whether you want it to your connections. But this viewers of this profile also viewed, you want to turn that one to no. Because the last thing you want someone to do is to reach the end of your profile and then say everybody who looked at you also looked at all these other people, because that's going to take the business elsewhere. So you want to turn that one off unless it's late at night and you're doing a little bit of espionage and you want to see what other academics in the same field are being looked at as well as you. And there's various other settings, I won't go through those today. Now, in the contact information section of your LinkedIn profile, so again, visit your profile, and then it says see contact info. Now in here, you can actually add in 3 websites. And so if you have a profile on ResearchGate, Academia, or what's this other one I heard today starting with a P? Is it Monash? There's some other platform you've got. Anyway, anywhere your content is or your own personal website, you can add 3 websites in here and link to that. So that's a really good way for people to learn more about you. And also, if you can fill in more information in your address, that becomes visible on the screen, and you can connect your Twitter account and any of your instant messaging accounts as well in that contact info. You'll also see that I have an image up the top here, and my books are to the right of it. That's because when people look at my LinkedIn profile on my phone, my picture will actually move to the middle of the screen. So I don't want to chop off the picture of the books on the mobile phone, so I've put the books over to the right-hand side of the image so that even when people look at me on their phone, they can still see that I've written 3 books. I also want to mention that having a good quality profile photo is extremely important. Up to 60% of the time that people spend looking at your LinkedIn profile will be spent looking at the photo. Chris Sprott is a photographer in the CBD of Melbourne in Burke Street, and it's about $40 and he does LinkedIn profile photos all the time. So, you know, definitely encourage you, if you haven't got a good photo, get one done. If you want to see whether people think you're competent, likeable or professional, you can put it on photofeeler.com and you can get a whole bunch of Americans to vote for it. So that's another way you can, you know, check that out. I'd also like to suggest that your headline here is what you really have to think about. And when I worked for Westpac, and people used to come up to me at an event and say, "Where do you work?" Westpac. Yep, everybody knew what that was, and they were all super excited about it. And then when I moved from Adelaide to Melbourne and I was in my own enterprise, what do you do? Well, I can't say one word Westpac anymore, and I noticed them all glaze their eyes over immediately. And unfortunately, most people want to give other people a label. So you have to decide what your label is going to be. And I think you've probably got about 3 words for that label. So I do lots of different things, and when I was Sue Everything, I wasn't getting any work. When I said I'm Sue, Independent LinkedIn Specialist, that's when I started getting the work. So you've got to come up with, you're an academic researcher on the topic of blah, you know, like what is it? What do you want to be known for? Because those few words are going to be what's appearing in the news feed and what people are going to see all the time. So you want them to remember yes, that's what you are, and have that label. Now that's not to say you only have to do that one thing for the rest of your life. It just means that it's something that people will remember, and they'll say, oh, well, if they do research in that, they must probably know something about this, and you'll still get the other words. So that's why you'll see on my profile in the headline, I've got all those other words. Now you may have noticed that there's 3.5 lines worth of words there. And that's because I actually updated it on my iPhone, which is a little hack, because if I did it on my laptop, I'd only get 120 characters, but by doing it on my phone, I get 200 characters. I bet you didn't know that before today. So please definitely put the words in. You'll also notice I've got the word of my 4th book in there, Gigsters, because I want a unique word in there that makes me memorable. Because if you're just another academic research in business studies, I mean, boring. But if you say you're an academic researcher in blockchain business, you know, then, oh, okay, that's something a bit different. So then you'll be memorable. So please think very carefully about the label you'd like to give yourself and how you can use that in the future. I talk about how to fill in all the extra sections there, but one of the most important points I make on page 7 is for you to keep a list in an Excel spreadsheet of everything you have had published. This is extremely important for you to do, because in 5 years' time you're going to forget all the different things you've had published. So please start keeping a record of the date, the title, the description, the link to the article, and also I'm going to encourage you, if you haven't heard about this website before, archive.org. So if you get front page in the Business Review Weekly, does that even exist anymore, BOW? I don't know. Archive.org/web. What you can do here is you can paste the link from what you've had published into Save Page Now, and that will keep a permanent record forever, long after we're all dead, of your content. So you can prove, even if the website takes your content down, that you had your content published. So in that Excel spreadsheet list, I want you to remember date, title, link to what you had published, plus the archive link. So you need to copy that link, paste it in Save Page Now, and it will be kept there forever. And you'll have proof that you actually had that content published. Okay, I'm happy for you to stalk me as often as you like. I'm happy to answer quick questions via email. If you decide to set up your own company, I've given you some information there on how to do that, as well as I really encourage you to go to LinkedIn and type in here Monash University and make sure that you are following the school as well as the alumni. So if you're not already, you can make sure you're following it. When you declare it as where you studied, it should automatically make you follow. But if you haven't already, I've got the links in there. There's also some groups that you might want to join, Monash University and Monash Alumni. Now, I've turned off all of my alerts from these groups because I don't have time to read all the content. But by being in these groups, I appear in more searches. So again, be strategic about who you follow and what groups you join, because that will enable you to appear in more relevant search results on LinkedIn and in Google. There's different types of ways, once you get involved with LinkedIn, of producing content. So if you just go to the first page when you open in, it says here you can share an article, photo, video, document or idea. So that's just a post that goes in the news feed. Or you can write articles. And if you look at my personal profile, you'll see that since 2014, I've written 55, I think, articles. There. See all articles, and we'll go through and show you all of those. So page 9 talks about how to write those posts and also how to write those articles. Now, the benefit of writing an article on LinkedIn is that it can end up appearing in Google search results. Now, can you confirm that I've not used this computer before? I've never touched this computer. Tough love for the unemployed. Now, I realise this is not a top search query, you know, I'm sure you didn't think about writing tough love for the unemployed, but if you Google it, well, there's my articles, that's Bing, but if we put it into Google, you'll see that my LinkedIn article comes up number 1, page 1 of Google search results. So you too can optimise articles to appear in Google search results. There you go. That's my article there, number 1, page 1 of Google search results. You can also do a lot of research to try and find people to get involved with your research, either through the LinkedIn search, or if you run out of choices, you can do a Google Advanced search, so I talk about that on page 10. I also talk about the use of video. Native video uploaded directly into YouTube is very, very popular and is more likely to go viral. So I reckon that's my plan for 2019, when my hair's perfect. I haven't quite got used to the idea of video yet, but I did find an amazing app for your phone this week called Lookwide, micro audio podcasting. I never have to care how I look, just how I sound. And believe it or not, my 3-minute audio podcast has already had 127 views in a week. So what a great way to share your information, just a micro audio podcast on your Lookwide app on your phone, free. If you're going to do videos, do short 1 to 2 minutes. Now, you might not think you want a job, but you can still fill out the jobs tab, and you can set career alerts, and you can mention what your career interests are. So if you've decided that you'd like to go and study in London next year, you can actually put in here that you're interested in opportunities in London, so that you will come up in London search results, or any other city, whatever it is. So don't discount the fact you might not be specifically looking for a job now, but if you want to come up in additional search results in other locations, this is the perfect way to do it. Now, the people who do these searches would have LinkedIn Recruiter, not necessarily just be average Joe, but definitely worth doing. There's a whole lot of other information about job search, again, in the handout. I really encourage you to avoid mentioning years of experience. Some people will say it's not enough, other people will say too many. So just focus on the value you bring, or talk about all the areas that you've done research in, and talk about your achievements in a language that people can understand. It's not just necessarily I increased profit by 24%. It could be you were selected to do this, or invited to do that, or represented someone. They're all achievements. You can also set up international searches and do other things in terms of research. And there's a particular link on LinkedIn for Students that the LinkedIn produces on the bottom of page 12. On the top of page 13, I briefly talk about social media strategies, because obviously LinkedIn is not the only social media platform you can use. So if you want to consider putting profiles on other platforms, I definitely recommend that you read through those suggestions, as well as look at some of the reports on social media use in Australia from Census. They are excellent reports. You can definitely join the conversation online on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and Instagram for Monash University, which again I encourage you to do, and look at the other bits and bobs there as well. Now, with 1 minute to go, I'd like you to turn on Bluetooth on your phone. And then open the LinkedIn app.